Happy New Year, everybody. It's the year 2020 now. God, it's a new decade already. The 2010s are over. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, it's 2020 now, and you know what? I'm feeling pretty good for this decade. In this first year alone, I've already reached 600 subscribers, and it's only been a year ago when I only had 100, and it feels like yesterday. Alright, I know it sounds cliche, but it's not 21x anymore. It's 22x. That should be mind-blowing enough. But I'm rambling on. Anyways, Disney. I really need to cut back on the fake laughs and the fake coughs. Well, Disney as a whole is, in my opinion, overrated and frankly kind of evil, especially for what they did to Star Wars. I admit that there is one branch of Disney that I've been consistently enamored with my whole life, and that would be Pixar. Pixar is a movie studio that pioneered in computer animation and VFX and film, and the first fully CGI animated film they released was a little known tech demo thing known as Toy Story. I mean, do I even need to introduce this movie? It's a story about toys. You see, you get it? Toy Story. Story about... It had stunning animation for 1995. It had memorable characters. It had Tom Hanks. You can't complain about that. Not to mention it completely revolutionized animation in the movie industry, and since then it has spawned a whole series of Toy Story movies, with the latest movie, Toy Story 4, having been released this past summer. As far as what any of this has to do with Krunker, well, someone made a parkour map based on Toy Story, literally called B-Hop Toy Story version 1. Now, this isn't the only Toy Story based map in Krunker. A Room by Andrill, I guess. Wait, let me see. Andree. Alright. A Room by Andree, which is based off of Andy's Room, is literally the most upvoted map in the entirety of Krunker. Well, last time I checked anyways. All the pop rap zombie maps are giving it a run for its zombie. But for the longest time, A Room is, or at least was, the most upvoted map. And people still play the hell out of it today. It's always on the top of the hot list. And when it comes to B-Hop Toy Story, which was created by a guy named ARSENGUN, it's not nearly as popular, but it has garnered a decent amount of upvotes, and is very reminiscent of A Room. And in all honesty, I find this map to be very decent. I found it refreshing, unique, and in a way nostalgic, if not annoying at many points, but I'll get to that. It has decent aesthetics that, for the most part, fall in line with the theme of Toy Story. The characters like Buzz and the alien are very well detailed by Krunker standards. This map also happens to have a story. Who would have thought a story about Toy Story? You start off in Andy's room, where one of those alien triplets tells you that Woody's been kidnapped. Simple enough premise. You're supposed to head for the vent at the top of Andy's door and find Buzz Lightyear on the other side. The alien also tells you about the claws. In this room, the blue claws grant the player 10 points and a checkpoint, while the red claws are scattered over the floor and they reset you to the most recent checkpoint when you touch them. And it's good information to know and all, but the question I have in my mind is, why is it the alien of all the toys that I'm speaking to? Why not Jessie, or Ham, or even Bo Peep, if she is around during this time? Not that it really matters, but still, there are far more prevalent characters that could have been used instead. I guess it was to stay in line with the claws or something, but whatever, I just found it weird. As far as Andy's room is concerned, it's definitely Andy's room. It's very detailed and filled with a lot of references to the film, such as the old Wild West chest of toys, and Reezy being on the shelf. The map even lets you ride that looping track that Buzz fell with style on, albeit in kind of an awkward way. There's also some other cool quirks, like being able to bounce on the bed. It is a little finicky, but it's cool nonetheless. And at the top you have multiple paths around spiders, okay, and a non-collidable ceiling to prevent any bullshit low ceiling fails. That's the stuff I like. Overall, there's some cool things about Andy's room, and I definitely feel like one of Andy's toys running around here. However, it's not perfect. This room has some issues that have led me to be confused with where I have to go, and has ultimately squandered some of the potential this room had. The room itself is large and spacious, which you may think that it would be a perfect open world-esque environment, but no, there is a linear path that you have to follow, and you have to follow it from start to end in order to get every point. Problem is, it's not obvious where to start at first. From the spawn, you're sort of directed towards the center of the room, this big open space, when in reality, the start is on some stack of blocks in the corner. Yeah, sure, it's close by, but the scale of the room misled me on what kind of structure this room had. Not to mention there are many places where it's easy to take advantage of glitches and flaws in the design to skip ahead quite a bit. Not only does this make you miss out on certain claws, but due to the checkpoints in each claw being single use, the checkpoints will be screwed up as well. All in all, not a perfect start to the map, even if it's pretty cool looking. But once you get all the blue claws, you can jump onto through the vent above the door into the rest of Andy's house, and our old pal Buzz is just outside waiting for us, ready to tell us some more stuff. Okay. Apparently Buzz wants 250 battery for some reason, and once you get it, meet up in the basement. Okay, so essentially the battery, or batteries, or whatever the you want to call them, replaced the blue claws in function, and now we are collecting battery instead of claws. Thankfully, the claws we already collected count towards the 250 batteries, so we don't have to worry about that. From here, there are several areas in Andy's home where you can go to collect battery, and it's your choice where you want to go first. And the first place I went to was the attic. It was that secret place that toys have referenced many times in the movies, or at least the map maker's depiction of it, as we never actually see the attic in the movies. This room is a little bit like Andy's room in terms of having a specific linear path to follow, although a lot more wordy and a lot more clear on where you're supposed to go. There is this odd trigger door, and that is kind of out of place, but it's something different, I guess. By the way, triggers exist in Krunker maps now. After the attic, I tackled the living room, which was my personal favorite part of the map. Yeah, most of the living room was very empty, but the batteries here are scattered in different places that have different ways of approaching them. Most of the batteries are behind these glass doors in the entertainment center, but there are a few on the top of the center, and on the sofa, and on that fence thing at the top of the stairs. While it again took time to figure out where to go, it was definitely pretty fun finding the batteries in the living room, and I honestly enjoyed it. Then there's the garage, which honestly was just too confusing and awkward for me to call good. The batteries on the closest wall to the little doggy entrance are fine, but there's this hose that goes under the somewhat faithful adaptation of Emily's car, and for those of you who don't know who that is from all the conspiracy theories, Emily is Andy's mom who owned Jessie as a little girl. The hose comes out from under the front of the car and is leaking a tiny stream of water into a little drain, and the stream boosts you into this drain, which launches you backwards from the top, and I guess you're supposed to land on one of these points? I'm not sure. I managed to make it work eventually through trial and error and using some ladder glitches, although I'm not sure if this is the way I'm supposed to tackle it. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to get these, or if the way I went was in fact the right way. The garage is easily the most confusing part of the entire map, and now that I think about it, the other half of the room doesn't really fare much better. There are several ways to skip some of the batteries, just like the claws in Andy's room. Not to mention that there is a platform with a button placed at the edge where if you step on it, the platform in front of you disappears. That is even worse than the fake blocks. It doesn't even hide it strictly. It literally overtly flips the bird at you without any shame. Cheap ass. Well, after that, and after hopefully collecting all of the battery in the 3 areas of the house, I finally get to make my way down to the basement, where not Buzz, not one of those eternally grateful alien kids are, but Potato Head. I'm sorry, Mr. Potato Head is waiting. Yeah, I kid you not. And honestly, while I kind of like the design of Buzz and even the alien, there's just something off about Potato Head. I can't quite put my finger on it. He reminds you once again to get 250 battery before proceeding, as well as to turn on the lights. And how do you do that? Well, there's a light switch above me, which can be reached from the higher up in the staircase, where in a pretty clever fashion you can hit the light switch and a point gate that is dark and semi-transparent disappears and it simulates the lights being turned on. Pretty neat actually. And when the lights turn on, you get to look inside the actual basement where there's a bunch of acid? Wait. When was there any acid in any of the movies? Wasn't Mapmaker tripping on acid when he made this? There is a part in this basement where you have this sort of battleship looking lights panel, where if you input the correct lights, the path is unblocked. And where do you get this combination? Is it hidden in some secure, clever place inside the house? No, it's literally right above Potato Head. Seconds before. Okay, thanks. After some more parkour and some tricky shift jumps, I finally reached where Buzz is, and he's trying to melt the vent with his little blinking light bulb. Does that dumbass still think he's a space ranger, or is not so somehow involved? Buzz asks for the 250 battery. I have 320, which is more than enough, so I open the vent, and I beat the map. There's a congratulations message waiting for me, mentioning a B-Hop Toy Story version 2, which may or may not exist when you get to see this video, but if it does, then it's going to be a sequel to this map. There's only one issue. I missed a battery. I know where that battery is. Remember that stair fence thing? That's the battery I missed. I'm supposed to get to it by using that plant that led to the attic. Unfortunately, I can't go back to get it, as for some stupid reason I'm blocked by this invisible point gate thing that I can't open, something that appeared when I entered the vent. In other words, I'm trapped. I have no way to get those extra points and I have no choice but to restart the server. Because of course. I just hate when this happens. I don't like establishing any actual rules in map making that anybody has to follow to a T, and I really don't like it when people take my word as Bible. But read my lips here. You can't see my lips. Hear my voice here. Don't do this. Don't do this thing where you trap somebody like this and you prevent them from going anywhere where they have no choice but to restart the server. It's always a sign of bad map design and it's always frustrating. What makes this particular situation worse is that this time it's intentional. The map maker put it there on purpose. Why? Why would you do this? On that note, I'll admit that there was a lot of effort that was put on the map. It's super detailed, there are triggers, some clever parkour elements, and Toy Story lore. It can be confusing and counterintuitive at times, but it usually provides enough clues to help you figure it out on your own, and it's rather easy once you've figured it out. But there are definitely some flaws. There are many places where you can skip sections of parkour, and it makes it easier to miss battery and claw. There are several glitches, such as with the drain. I forgot to mention that when you're going through it, it's possible to fall through the sides and glitch out of the map. And of course there's that point where you get deliberately trapped at the end. Not to mention the actual Toy Story references are bizarre. Not that it's a bad thing in my opinion, but it's mostly hit or miss if you ask me. They have some secrets like Andy's mom's car in the garage, the toy chest, Wheezy, all the detailed stuff like Alien and Buzz. But then there are the things that don't make sense, like where are all the toys? Why the acid? And more importantly, who the hell kidnapped Woody? The Chicken Man? If Al kidnapped Woody, and this is a recreation of Toy Story 2, then why are there aliens in this home already? And what really puts me through a loop here is that whenever someone kidnapped Woody in the movies, the other toys called it stealing.
No, he's stealing Woody.
What? Why would someone steal Woody?
But everybody in this map is saying that Woody is kidnapped, not stolen. What could all this mean? I guess we have to wait for Act 2 to find out. The map may be flawed, but it's definitely worth a playthrough. It's very fun, creative, and unique, and it's the closest I've ever been to feeling like one of Andy's toys.